it's Ann with Take It Up a Notch, and today I'm going to show you how to make some artisan bread. We'll use the food processor. It has a dough hook on the food processor, so that makes it easy in the mixing. There's only a few simple ingredients, and probably the longest part of the period of time that it takes is the proofing for the dough to rise. So other than that, it's fast and easy, and it's delicious. Your friends will be going, no way, you make this? Seriously, I get that one a lot. I make this for family dinners. I make this as an appetizer to take to parties. So I cut it up into small pieces, and I also season some olive oil. I marinate the olive oil with garlic and Italian seasoning and a little bit of salt, and just like you dip in an Italian restaurant. So it's delicious. You'll love it. So come on along, and we are going to make some artisan bread today. So thanks. Oh, and please like and subscribe. The artisan bread recipe that we're using today only calls for 5 ingredients: flour, yeast, salt, sugar, and water. And I'm going to use my KitchenAid food processor that's equipped with a dough hook in order to mix it all together. Now I am using a scoop to fluff the flour and put it into my scoop so I don't overdo it and don't pack it in and have too much flour in the recipe in the food processor. So fluff it and then pour it into your measuring cup. Now at the end of that, you'll notice that I take the scoop and I fill it full of some flour, because I'm going to use that to put on my counter in order to knead and knead the flour as it comes out of the food processor. So to the flour of the food processor, I'm going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of yeast. Sprinkle that in. I will use 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1 teaspoon of sugar. Now, in order to get this mixed up, it is hot water, very hot tap water. You don't want to overdo it because you'll kill your yeast. Pour this into the food processor so you can watch it come together. And it's just eyeballing it and watching it come together. The recipe has 1.5 cups of water. You may not use it all. It's eyeballing it and watching your dough is the most important thing. See how it's starting to come together? There you'll see the little specks and pieces, and it's coming into, there it is, one big ball. So when it comes to one big ball like that, that's about the time that it's ready. Now, I put a little too much water, and so I could tell that it was a little too wet, so I added a little more flour to the bowl, and now it's perfect. It's all together, it's all come together, and there it is. I had to take my rings off, but I had to go back and get some more flour for the countertop, because I'm going to pull this out and put it on the countertop and knead it for a few minutes. Get flour on your hands, because the dough will be sticky, and that way it doesn't stick too much to you. And pull that out of the food processor and onto the counter. See, I'm getting flour on my hands so I could keep the dough from sticking to me and being all over my fingers. There I am kneading it. Use the palm of your hand, the lower palm of your hand, and push into it. There you go. Push right into it as you knead. That is kneading the dough. And this gets the glutens and everything moving around. And that's what you want it to do. You want to work that dough for just a few minutes, not too much. We don't want to overwork it, until it's nice and soft and smooth and together. And I'm going to shape it into a ball.
Nice, soft, smooth. And you can tell the texture is totally different from just that few minutes of just kneading it just for a little bit. Now it's all soft and smooth. And that's what you want your dough to look like. Now, I went to get a big glass bowl, and in this bowl I'm going to put some olive oil in there. I'm going to get a paper towel, and I'm going to wipe the oil all over the bowl so that when you put your bread ball into your dough ball, into the bowl, it's not going to stick later on while it's proofing. And you want to make sure that it's all have oil all over it so it doesn't dry out, so it doesn't dry your dough out. It will have like a little dry film feeling to the top of it, but once you knead it again after it's proofed, that'll go away, and that is fine. Now I'm going to use a lightweight dish towel, a linen dish towel. I have the cotton dish towel. Hello, and we're back with our bread that I just took out of the oven. So here's what I do. I have a proof button on my oven that it brings the temperature to like 100 degrees. It doesn't feel like 100 because I can still touch this at 100, so I don't really think, but it's a convection oven, so the air is moving around because I don't need a pot holder to pull this out. So that proofing, I can proof this in half the time. So if it's supposed to proof for 2 hours, I can leave it in there for an hour. Maybe it has to be an hour and a half, but normally it's about an hour. I'll get a really good proof on it. So as you notice, it's doubled in size. So this is great. This is exactly what we want it to do. Take my rings off. Put them somewhere. Won't lose them. And I'm going to put a little flour out on the counter. And pull this out. And oh, look at the air that's going to go out of there. But I'll pull this out. There we go. Just going to work it just a little bit. Just getting it ready to bake. So while I am doing this, I turned the oven on. I'm heating that up at 450 degrees. So if on my oven, because it's a convection oven, so I'll go 25 degrees down, lower. But so you're going to bake this at 450 degrees. This is so soft. Oh my gosh, this is it's heavenly. This is great. So yes, so you knead it down, work it through just a little bit, not too much. So we're going to take our bowl back again, and we're going to put parchment paper in there. Now, see how the parchment paper just kind of, and it's going to go everywhere? This is the trick with parchment paper. It doesn't ruin it, but if you crinkle it up, it'll fit to whatever you want it to fit into. So crinkle it up, and then I am going to put my dough back in there. And that's going to be a little high for my pan, but I want to leave edges to where I can grab it and drop it in. So the brand that I'm using is a Food Network. It's a smaller cast iron pot that's enamel on the inside. You could use Le Creuset, you could use the Food Network one. There's one from Lodge Cast Iron. They have one as well. So any of those will work. So when the oven hits 450 degrees, I'll slide my rack out. I'll drop a few ice cubes in, and you'll just hear them going nuts in there. And then I'll drop this in on top of it. Put the lid on, and those ice cubes makes it a steam oven in there, and that will steam, and it'll keep it from getting too hard and crusty. You'll have some hard crusty like a regular bread, but it keeps it from getting really hard and crusty on the outside. But it works out perfect. It's delicious. It's soft. It's delicious inside. So we will, as soon as the oven hits the 450 degrees, then we'll pop this in the oven. But in the meantime, I will keep this covered. So our Dutch oven is heating up in the oven the whole time. It's getting up to 450 degrees. So as soon as you turn the oven on, put the Dutch oven with the lid off in the oven. I pour a half a cup of ice cubes in the bottom of the bowl. Then I drop in my parchment paper with the dough in the middle and put the lid on. I then bake this at 450 degrees for 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, then I will take the lid off and let that bake for 10 minutes longer, and that way that will brown the top of the bread. So 10 minutes longer at 450 degrees. After 10 minutes, pull it out of the oven, and it has a beautiful brown crust there. I pull this out of the Dutch oven and let it sit for 20 minutes at least. An hour or an hour or two to let it really cool down is best before you even slice it. So that is beautiful. Look at that brown crust on there. I didn't want it really crusty and hard because I was going to use this for a dinner and possibly using it for some bruschetta as well as an appetizer. And I apologize, my microphone was not on. So after about an hour, I sliced it, and look at the inside. Look at all the nice little air holes. You want that in there. That is beautiful. That it turned out delicious. So it was so good. So I sliced the bread up into smaller pieces and I served it for dinner along with olive oil that was infused with the garlic and the Italian seasoning. So I made a homemade spaghetti and meatball meal for some friends of ours that came over for dinner, and it worked out great. So this is a really easy recipe. If you don't have a food processor, you could mix it up in a bowl and then pull it out onto the floured surface, and you probably would want to knead it a little bit longer than I did if you don't have the food processor. The food processor helps that kneading process. So again, artisan bread, 5 ingredients: flour, yeast, salt, sugar, and water. It's delicious, it's easy, and I hope you'll try it. Thank you again for clicking on my channel. I'm Ann with Take It Up a Notch, so please like and subscribe. Thank you and have a wonderful day.